Hey, well, welcome to Masterbooks Prepared, Not Scared. What you need to know about graduating your homeschooled high school student. We are offering intentional tools and tips for you and your students. And so we're excited to have Rachel Smith here today. Rachel is the customer service manager for Masterbooks, but she's got so many more hats that she wears and has worn. Rachel has graduated 3 of her 4 homeschooled students, so she's got great experience to offer you as well as wisdom because she also was a covered school administrator. And so she knows this from teaching high school in the public school or private school sector. She knows this topic from being a homeschool mom and graduating 3 of her 4. She also knows it from being Masterbooks customer service manager, and she's able to answer the questions about all of our curriculum. So she's coming here today for you and your students with lots of wisdom about getting into college, what that takes, and how Masterbooks courses can help you. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you. It's always fun to work with you. Rachel and I have had a great visit this morning before we've started this episode. So we're really excited to share with you what you may need to know so that you can be prepared and not scared in getting your students ready for high school. So, Rachel, you were trained as a teacher and you worked as a high school teacher for many years before you started homeschooling. After graduating your 3 students so far, are you glad you made the decision to homeschool?
Yes, absolutely. Looking back at it, I wish I had begun sooner with
Mhm.
homeschooling. The experience that my children have been able to have in the homeschool community and just being at home with me has been amazing for all of us. I'm thankful for the time I've been able to have with my children as well. I know as a teacher in the classroom how much time I spent with the students through the years and the relationships that I built with them. And I'm thankful that I had that time with my children and was able to disciple my children and have those hours back with my children
Aw,
to invest in them. And
yeah.
look, speaking with all of my kids, they're all 16 to 22 now, and they all have a good experience and good testimony of their homeschooling years. So none of them have that negative experience with it. In their opinions, even as adults now and young adults and
Mhm.
teenagers, which is I'm happy that that's their experience because we do worry as parents that we're going to mess them up or
Yes.
that they're going to have regrets in those decisions that we made. But my children don't have those opinions and they have enjoyed those years as well. And so I'm very thankful.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, that's such a great report. And I would love to hear from the people who are listening today to this episode about what your experience is. How have you been worried about graduating your high school students and making sure they're prepared? Or do you feel prepared already? And what's been your experience with Masterbooks so far? So, Rachel, tell us about teaching high school as a home educator and comparing it to teaching high school in a public school system or Christian school system, private school system. Do you feel your kids were better prepared, your own children that were homeschooled were better prepared for life and for godliness and for college and career? Or do you feel like there was a big difference between their preparation and then somebody that went to the private school or public school?
Yes, I do feel like my children are better prepared. And I know that's a biased opinion, um,
Right.
but because others might say that have their own reasons for thinking other in other ways. And that's a big fear
Mhm.
for those of us that homeschool is that our kids are not going to get as well prepared or have the same type of life experiences that are needed in order to enter college and trades or anything after graduation. As a teacher in that traditional school setting, I was
Yes.
bound. You're bound by what the curriculum you're given is. You're bound by the schedule that's given to you. You're bound by not being able to individualize for the students, even when you see a need, because you have to keep moving forward. So for
Mhm.
my personal children, I didn't have those boundaries. I had the freedom. And so
Yes.
I enjoyed that freedom, and I was able to see my children thrive, because when they had areas where they were struggling, I was able to help them resolve it and help them learn how to resolve it for themselves, help them to become self-motivated, help them become independent, which in the long run to me has better prepared them in that area specifically for those college years and the workforce and all of that as well,
Mhm.
because they have learned problem solving for themselves.
Right.
They have learned to set goals for themselves. They've had to be independent. They have had to do a lot of more real life experience within our home and within our homeschooling than they would have had in a classroom. So, because they had some of that freedom to make those decisions as well. But then we had
Mhm.
that ability to step back and evaluate what they needed, what their needs were. I feel like they're also better prepared for, because of the different types of learning styles we were able to use. When you
Oh,
go
good.
to those college years, every teacher, every professor has a different approach. There's going to be many different things required of you. You are going to have to be independent. You are going to have
Mhm.
to be self motivated. You do have to be goal oriented. All of those things that I've been able to work with my children on during the homeschooling years, to give them
Right.
kind of that, they have that leg up in that area, whereas they're not
Mhm.
for the first time being thrown into a situation like that where they're having to set their own goals or plan their own schedule out of, because college classes are not every day with a teacher spoon feeding you every day.
Yes, true.
And so you do have to set those goals differently. And they've been able to do that. I feel like I've been able to help them overcome some of the fears that they've had, the anxieties and things like that, but not just overcome them, but learn how to trust the Lord and lean to the Lord and work through them. And so overall, I feel like, yes, they are better prepared. They are able to think for themselves, they're able to question, they're able to discern,
Mhm.
and all good character traits that they have been able to gain here in the home with me guiding them through to where they'll be able to take those on to the college years. So yes, I
And
do.
you're investing in them with such great love and such great hope and confidence in God for where God's taking them in their life. And that's not always going to come from a teacher in the
Right.
school setting, in a traditional school setting. So I'm thankful for your children and all the children that are being homeschooled, especially with master books, because there's such a biblical foundation to everything they're learning, that they are going to be far more prepared adults, in my opinion, because of these things that you've just mentioned, like Daniel and the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who didn't have everything that was afforded to them, but they were stronger and they looked healthier. And I feel like there's some similarities there. One of the questions I think many parents would probably ask you if they could is, what about the socialization with homeschool before, so they've been in your household, they haven't been in a school setting, and now they're going to go off to college. So what was that like for your three kids who have graduated?
Well, first of all, with that homeschool community versus the traditional school classroom, for 7 hours a day or more, your children are really only with their peers. And then once
Mhm.
we entered the homeschool community, my children were with people of all ages more often. So they've learned to better interact with all types of people, all ages of people.
Sure.
As far as socialization and being involved, there are so many things out there now for the homeschool community, for children to be involved with. We were actually more busy when we began homeschooling than we were in that traditional school classroom, because there were so many opportunities there for my children.
Good.
So in order to, and people might think, well, I don't have those, or I don't know where. You just have to start asking those questions. Find your local homeschool groups, ask those
Mhm.
questions. Currently my 16-year-old, we have music lessons from other resources, sports from other resources, clubs from other resources. So he is still very active in, having to look at our schedule every day and find out where does everyone have to be. Plus, also they had the opportunity to go into the workforce as well,
Good.
and because in a traditional school, you would have your hours of school and then you still have all that homework to do. So,
Mhm.
and then if you do want to be involved in sports or extracurricular, your time is very limited in that. And that's overwhelming. And I don't want my children to be overwhelmed, but thankfully with homeschooling, we have that freedom of our schedule. And so they were able to go ahead and enter the workforce, which then also put them in those opportunities to be around other people of different ages and have that
Sure.
experience of working while they were still in the home with us as well.
Mhm.
And so socialization for us, I don't think of my children, it would ever been said, ever be said that they do not have those opportunities, or that they are, even the most introverted of my children, still very social.
That's great. That's great because college can feel overwhelming. There's a lot more people, depending on where you're going, and
Mhm.
well, things are so different than they were for me and you. There's online school and all the things, but I'm excited to hear how your students did when they went off to college, and how the things that you were able to do as their mom, as a professional teacher, but as a homeschool teacher who's doing something very different than what you were taught in college to do, how this worked out so well for the three that you've already graduated. And I know that you're having a great experience with the one that you have at home because you're able to individualize for him as well.
Yes, my older three. So my first daughter, she graduated, used masterbooks all through high school and graduated and did very well through her college years, and was able to work a job through her college years as well as maintain
Right.
good grades. And she is now out in the workforce herself. She's married, she's doing well, and she has a job. She's a teacher now. Her first child, my second grandchild. But so she's doing well. And then same thing, my second daughter went on to university, did very well. Actually tested out of some things there after using master books for junior high and high school, and has been very successful in her college. She's married as well, has my grandchild is also. And then my third son, by the time you graduate those two, I know for me, I was more comfortable.
Same.
Even as a former teacher, I still sometimes question my decisions and what I was doing. But the third one, he was able to have even more opportunity, and that's when we entered that dual enrollment, early enrollment through the college years.
Mhm.
And we can talk about a little more about that later. But as far as for him, he did well and began doing some dual enrollment in his junior year of high school. By the time he graduated, he'd already earned 30 college credits. And
Wow.
so the opportunities that have been available to my children through homeschooling that we wouldn't have had really in that traditional school setting, that I'm now able, fourth one now, um,
Mhm.
and they're all so unique. Each one is so unique, and the education that is needed for each one is very unique. But I'm thankful for homeschooling for that freedom to be able to choose what is needed and what is best for each one. So here we are with the fourth one, and I just feel like the wide world is open for what we
Mm.
are able to do for him. Yeah.
Right, because there are more opportunities. I mean, as you've been saying, the time is there for him to work. There's time to get the extra credit. There's time to do things that they wouldn't have been able to do. But we're so thankful that the people who are watching have chosen homeschooling. And we do know that sometimes people get a little nervous about, will they be prepared? Will they pass their college entrance exams? Will everybody look at me who has judged me for making this decision to be a homeschool mom, look at me at the end of this and say, you didn't do good enough? So I
Mhm.
can imagine that feeling and that fear. So I wanted to have you talk to us a little bit about your experience with masterbooks and your own children, as well as your experience as a cover school administrator, where you were literally helping students get ready to pass college entrance exams to try to get admitted, getting their transcripts ready. So please share with us from that perspective what you feel like will encourage and give wisdom to the parents that are watching.
Yes, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I would say don't be intimidated. We
Mhm.
are, and the title of the session is a great title because we are so intimidated and afraid once we realize we're approaching those high school years. And I had a little bit of that myself with my first child. But being able to help others and realize that that's where every homeschool family is when it's time to start. That's where we all are because we do care so much about our children and we want what's best for them. But
Sure.
first thing to do, the first step would be just to start a plan. I'm an English teacher. And so one of the things that constantly goes through my mind is something I learned long ago about when you sit down to write something, the steps of writing. You plan, you write, you rewrite, you edit. And so
Okay.
I take that approach even to when you're approaching those high school years. You plan, but then it's okay when you need to, and you start writing, but then when you need to rewrite and edit, it's okay. And so you give yourself that grace as the homeschool parent with each individual child. And the plan doesn't have to be the same for each one, but you should start with a plan
Mhm.
to give yourself that own security. So we do have with masterbooks and a just a planning your years through high school worksheet, and this could be any worksheet. You could even use just a blank transcript form to start this planning, where you just want to think, okay, it's ninth grade, what are we going to do for math, what are we going to do for language arts, what are we going to do for science, what are we going to do for history, what electives do we want to take. And you just step by step every year just jot down, and this isn't your final plan, because remember, we're going to rewrite and edit. This is
Right.
just from the get-go. What are you thinking? These are the basic courses we want to take, and just jot them down quickly. And then you can organize that at that point. Okay, these are the language arts things that we would like to study. These are the math courses we would like to study. These are the history courses. These are science courses. These are our electives. And with all of that, keeping in mind in your planning, you do want to check your state laws. That is definitely
Right.
very important. HSLDA, Homeschool Legal Defense Aid, is a great resource for that, for every state, to let you know what is required for your state laws. And that is the really, once you have some ideas of what you want to take, make sure you're checking those state laws to see if you have some things that are required of you, and that you get those in. Some states are very free, and other states will tell you specifically what courses are required or what you have to do each year. But you will find that many of the states, you're going to have a lot of freedom to choose what your student is interested in studying. Another thing in your planning would be, if your student has any idea of where they want to go to college, you do
Mhm.
want to go ahead and look online at that college, any course of study that they want to take. If they know a specific course that they want to pursue through college for a career, check with those admissions departments, check online, see if there's any requirements, things that they're going to be looking for from those high school transcripts. So those would all be the first starts of the planning. Check your state laws, check with any colleges if you know yet, and then just start jotting down those what you want to
Mhm.
do. And you can organize that. And again, reminding yourself that can be
Mhm.
edited through the years. This is
Yes.
just a rough draft. And
Mhm.
then you have your transcripts, and starting a transcript seems to be what really scares parents. And I think it's that it's a legal document in their minds. This is the document that's going to follow my child through the years to get them into college, maybe possibly jobs in the future and things like that. So with masterbooks, we do have a cumulative record. That is a big resource. I'm going to show you. So with our cumulative record, we have a transcript form. This is the one that's a sample that's already filled in. We have this in our cumulative record. Then we also have a
Okay.
blank one within the cumulative record. In order to write on the blank one, you can print these out, obviously, and handwrite on them. But for that more official look, if you have an Adobe Acrobat Reader, you are able to type on these. So
Right.
you don't have to recreate if you don't want to. If you have access to that Adobe Reader, you are able to type on the PDF of this. So I'm going to show you. This is our sample transcript. And then this is one of my children's. This is an actual transcript of one of my children who was accepted into university with no problem with this transcript. So that is often the fear. Like, if I use this transcript, is it good enough? Is it good enough? So this is the same transcript that I have used with all three of mine that have already been, two that are already finished, and then the third one that's currently in his college years. And we've had no issues. 3 different types of schools. The one that I'm showing you now, this is exactly what it looked like. Of course, it's blank. I don't have my signatures and my official seal, different things like that. But this is exactly what it looks like. So just comparison, you can see it is the transcript form from our cumulative record. So yes, what you see in that cumulative record is appropriate, is good enough. The one that I used this with that I just showed you, she actually went on to university that is the university's accreditation, and everything is the same as our state accreditation. It was a Christian university, but they have many things that they offer. She went there and was studying physical therapy. And again, so, lots of entrance requirements, but no problems with that transcript.
Right.
So when you reach those transcripts time, you've got that transcript. Also, HSLDA has a website. On their website, they have a page that's just homeschooling through the high school years. And they will take you as well as step by step through some transcript and transcript ideas as well. And so again, HSLDA is a wonderful resource to all parents for those high school years to make sure you're doing what you should be for your state. And they help through those high school years. So you've done the planning. You pick your transcript template. It's 9th grade. Your student is taking a course. What do? You just start plugging that in and recording it into the transcript. You're going to put the transcript template will have the year so you put the year they're taking the course, you put the course title, and then you're going to put that final grade. And that's all it takes. And working with many families to do that. This same transcript form that I showed you is the transcript form that I've used for many graduates going to colleges all across, and even military as well, because that's a concern for some as well, military things. And so that has been accepted with no issues. And it's just as simple as that. You make that plan, and then as they're finishing a course, you just plug it right in and record it. And doing that is all that it takes. We make it more difficult. We make it scary.
It feels big.
And it is. But it's really just keeping up with it year after year. Now, if you are in the high school years and you're waiting till, it's 11th grade and you're just now starting to throw one together, you might feel that pressure and that overwhelm. But if you start from the beginning and just slowly start plugging it in, it's simple. You've been doing it all this time. You just keep moving forward like you have been through those younger years. It's just your record keeping is a little more official now. And then ACTs and SATs is another thing as far as your college admission. So they're going to want to see a transcript and then possibly an ACT or an SAT score. COVID changed that a lot from what pre-COVID, what was required for college admissions to post-COVID. During the COVID year, a lot of students were not able to really meet in person and take those college entrance exams. So colleges started admitting people without having those exams because they were able. So here we are now post-COVID, and some colleges have reinstated those requirements of having that ACT and SAT, but many have also not. And so you will want to check again with colleges that you're looking into to see if they are a test optional college, because you would be surprised at the number. You'd be surprised. I just did a little search before this of like college, test optional colleges, and like over 100 popped up just right
Wow.
away of and names that I wouldn't have expected of some of them.
Okay.
And so you want to look into that. Then there's a couple of states that the entire state does still, the state itself for all of their colleges has reinstated. But again, it was an easy little Google search, and I was able to see where our test optional colleges were. And then others will say test free, which means
Okay.
not even. So test optional, you can do it if you want to, but you don't have to. And then there's others that say test free, like we don't even care. And so that is great too for offering those to your homeschool student who maybe has test anxiety or just doesn't do well. But even with that, another great thing that has come with ACT and SAT is online testing now. Whereas before it had to be in person in that very intimidating room. You got your number 2 pencils.
I remember.
And it's just a scary, for everyone, whether you're a good test taker. It was just that very intimidating, sterile environment where you felt like you were going to break a rule.
Yes.
And so, and never mind the fact that you're there to test all the knowledge that you might have. And so having that online option available now is good for those students as well. They can do it within, a more comfortable environment. Sometimes it is where you go to one place, one location, but you're able to take it online. It doesn't have that pressure of the time frame and all of that. So you just want to look into those things. So ACT and SAT, again, they're not as scary as they used to be. Your student may not even need it. With those test optional schools, a reason why you would want to include an ACT or an SAT score would be if your student has a high score, because it's going to boost their admissions application. And but colleges will also look at any essays they might have to write, any extracurriculars, volunteer things, and their transcripts and their GPA. All of that will play. But if your student does have a high ACT or SAT score, it is a good thing to add those to those test optionals. Also, another thing to look into would be the scholarships that are offered. Sometimes those scholarships are through the university. Sometimes they're through private funding of scholarships. And so your ACT and SAT scores are sometimes needed for those scholarships. So that would be your reasons for still taking it, even if you're choosing a test optional or a test free college, would be for scholarships. With my children, my first two, they did take SAT and ACT. And we ended up doing a lot of practice testing beforehand. So that might be another question. So I do want to do this. How do I prepare for that? So we did some practice testing. I did have a tutor that came and worked with them for a little while, just with some test taking skills, not necessarily particularly just SAT or ACT, just some overall basic test taking skills, decision making while you're in the midst of that test.
Yeah.
And so even with you don't know the answer, choosing the best answer, deductive reasoning type of things. So investing in an ACT or SAT course, a preparation course or a tutor is a good thing. It worked well for my students to help them have good admission scores for those SAT and ACT. When they were admitted into a college, it was pre-COVID. And so for one of them, and then the second one, it was the COVID year. And so for them, one of them, she had to have that. The second one, it was an optional thing. So now I'm on my third. And he did the early enrollment and the dual enrollment. And it is an optional thing for him, whether or not he wants to, but he's already accepted because he began in those early years, and he is continuing on with that same university. So that would be another easy route. To me, his admissions has been the easiest.
Oh, good.
Because we chose that early enrollment Went through all the admission steps while he was a junior in high school. And because he has done well in those courses, and they make that opportunity for him to just, come right on in. And so that has been an easy thing, an easy transition for him. So if you're looking for the easiest route, in my experience, it has been that. It has been a breeze to get him enrolled, and he begins in the fall. So, and then the overall admissions, just approaching college admissions, you want to check with all of those colleges that your student's interested in and just give their admissions office a call. You will be surprised how friendly they are. With me personally, as a cover school administrator working with them, they were always excited to talk to me, whether it was a Christian university or a public university. They wanted homeschool students.
That's what I've heard.
Many of the things that we talked about in the beginning with my own children, as far as that independence, that goal-oriented, self-motivation, good student overall, study skills, things that they've been able to learn, these universities, they're seeing that. And they want those students that already have those skills to come into their schools. And so they are going to more than likely be very happy to hear from you and more than willing to help in whatever way they can. And that was my experience, whether it was me calling in personally as a school administrator or whether I was calling in as a parent with my own children. So don't be afraid to call those colleges or and speak with someone in admissions and ask all of the questions that you feel like maybe you haven't gotten the answers to online. They will be very happy to speak with you. And
of course, they would want you to be there.
Right. They want students.
Yes.
And they want it to be easy for you to enroll them because if you're able to do that effortlessly, that makes their job easier as well. When you're better prepared and know what's expected. But call them, ask them, what are you looking for on a high school transcript? Where should we begin with college admissions? When should we begin with college admissions? Are there any, what are the things that you're looking for that makes a student stand out when you are looking at college admissions? So get that heads up. They're going to tell you these are the things we're looking for. And then you're, as the homeschool parent, because you're homeschooling, you then have that ability to invest and work with your student to prepare them in that way. Whereas we did that question comparing to traditional school. In a traditional school, there are advisors helping your student, but they're not going to invest and say, okay, the college wants this. Let's make sure you have this. Let's make sure we are able to present exactly what they're wanting and get you best prepared. They're not going to have that personal investment into your child like you are, because they don't want them to they don't want to see them succeed in the same way that you do as the parent. God's given that to us, and it's the love that we have for them, and we want them to move forward. We want them to be successful in life. We want them to be amazing citizens and Christians and have all of the positive things. And so you're going to invest in them. So don't be afraid to call and find out. And then you can apply that personally to your student. And then I wanted to just show as well. So a diploma. Homeschoolers get diplomas, just like everybody. So this is a diploma of one of mine. And many places out there where you can get a diploma. Homeschool families can get them just like a school can. But we have a name for our Christian school. So we have a little logo, and our school personally is Foundations Christian School. And my husband and I chose that name long ago because we wanted to set that firm foundation in our children through biblical principles and not just academics. So it was all about giving them the foundations that they need for life and investing in our children. So it's Foundations Christian School. And then this is what a diploma looks like. And so this is a homeschool diploma. I haven't signed this one yet, but here it is. And just like every other, has a seal on it.
Fantastic.
So your student will get a diploma. So you have an official transcript that's accepted, and you will
Mhm.
have a diploma.
That's great.
Yeah.
Nobody left behind. We're going to set you up to be successful. Master Books is here to help you be the carpenter of your child's education and their graduation. So I'm excited that we have the cumulative report and that there are so many things that are actually better for the homeschool student in this process. Like you were talking about, there's more time, there's more individual attention, there's more, probably more interest in the subjects that they've chosen, the courses that they've chosen in those particular core subjects. And so we're just thrilled that your students have done so well, and we're so excited that you are working with the homeschool moms who reach out to you in the customer service department to ask questions. And we're thrilled to be able to provide this event, this online event, so that you can have the information that you need to be prepared and not be scared. So I'm glad you were here for this. Rachel, thank you so much for being a part of the Masterbooks family and team and being such an encouragement for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm so happy that the Lord allows me to even be a help. Yeah.
Yes, well, you are. And thank you all for being here today and listening.